Hey guys, what's going on? Jerome here, and this is my 1 week review on the Nexus 6P. Now, I've actually owned this phone for more than a week now, probably 8 or 9 days. And if you watched my past videos, specifically the 24-hour review on the Nexus 6P, or any of the past Moto X Pure Edition versus Nexus 6P comparison videos, a lot of what I might say today might be rehashes of those videos, but they're all really important notes that I don't want to leave out. The Nexus 6P is a solidly built phone. It's probably the classiest Nexus phone that's ever been released. It's really a tall phone, but it's very slim. But it's still tall enough where it's not a phone that's a true one-handed phone. I mean, I still use this phone one-handedly, but most of the time I find myself having to adjust my position to kind of get to the top and bottom of the display, or in other cases I'm still using two hands to do whatever I need to do on my phone. I do have to mention that its flat back makes it a little difficult to pick up off of hard surfaces, but if you have a case, I'm sure that'll alleviate the problem. But for people who run their phones naked like I do, you kind of have to be a little more cautious picking up the phone, especially trying to pick it up quickly. You don't want to be too rough with it because you don't want to scratch the back or mess it up in any kind of way. In my 24-hour review, I talked about how I really like this white frost color that I chose, mainly for the fact that the contrasting colors of black and white were really appealing to my eye. I also did mention that with this white matte finish, it wasn't much of a fingerprint magnet, and it isn't. But even after a day or two, I did notice that fingerprints still get on the back of this phone. So it's not fully like fingerprint proof. You might not see it from a distance, but if you're looking for it, you're gonna find fingerprints on your phone. Unfortunately for me, I think after the second or third day too, I found like a really small discoloration on the finish of this phone. It still shows white, but it kind of has an oily appearance and I can't get it off, and it's really starting to bug me. It's kind of an eyesore, and it actually might make me open up the graphite Nexus 6P that I have and maybe do a comparison between the two and see if the graphite is really more of a fingerprint magnet than the frost is. I've also read that the feel of the frost and the feel of an aluminum or graphite are actually a little different. They said that the aluminum was a lot slipperier. The aluminum was a more slippery phone than the frost. I don't really know much about the graphite, but I might open that up, and if I do, I'll have a short video on that as well. I am happy with the display on this phone. I do have one or two small gripes about it, but overall, it's a very decent looking display at 1440p resolution. The colors look really good. Now, I don't use the oversaturated display that the phone defaults with. I use the sRGB display option that you can find in the developer options of this phone. The thing is, when I compared this to my Moto X Pure Edition, I noticed that the colors looked a little washed out, a little unsaturated. Now, I don't know if that actually represents truer colors. I feel like to my eye that it doesn't. So just keep that in mind if you are looking to switch one or the other. You will find that the sRGB looks a little more washed out, especially compared to the saturated display. Now, that isn't as much of an issue to me. What I am having an issue with is actually in direct sunlight or when you're outside in just more light. The phone gets pretty dim. Like, even if I turn it up to its brightest setting, it's still not as bright as my Moto X Pure Edition is. So that is a gripe of mine that kind of bothers me, especially if I'm outside and I want to check my phone and I'm having trouble just looking at the display. But other than that, like I said, the colors are really good. I'm really impressed with like the dark colors, like the blacks on this phone. It comes out really nice and it's very accurate. Performance on my 6P is rock solid. Now, I don't know if it's the 810 version 2.1 Snapdragon processor or the 3 gigs of DDR4 RAM or even Marshmallow software running on this phone, but when I compare this to my Moto X Pure Edition, this phone seems to, I guess, run a lot more fluidly than my Moto X Pure Edition. And again, I've said this in the past, that doesn't mean that my Moto X lags in any way, but the transitioning, like transitioning through apps or just using the keyboard or like when I receive notifications, everything just seems a lot smoother. Again, that might be Marshmallow. So and I can't compare it to the Moto X Pure Edition because I don't have Marshmallow on the phone yet. So when that comes, I will definitely check both phones out and, give an update on that. But everything works well. There are no hiccups, there's no lag, no stuttering. I know people were a little worried about the 810 Snapdragon processor overheating, but I haven't noticed any kind of overheating on this phone. In fact, and I've said this in my past video, this phone stays cooler than my Moto X Pure Edition does. Sometimes my Moto X runs pretty warm, even hot. And I haven't noticed that yet on my Nexus 6P, so that's a big plus. The battery is probably one of the biggest things that I'm most happy about this phone. The fact that I can get about 4 hours and 15 minutes to 4 hours and 45 minutes of screen on time with about 16 to 18 hours of use pretty much means I can go throughout the whole day without trying to conserve the battery on this phone, like, being scared that I'm afraid that it's gonna die. I can still use it regularly first thing in the morning to the last thing I do at night. I never worry now about killing the battery on this phone. I haven't seen these kind of numbers since I've owned an Xperia Z3. Now, if that's not enough battery life for you, luckily the phone has fast charging on it. You can, like in my previous tests, I've been able to charge this phone from 0% to 100% in about an hour and 35 minutes. It doesn't mean you have to plug it in for that long to get 100%. I mean, it does to get 100%, but I mean, if you just need it, just need to get some power, for the rest of the night, you can plug it in for 20 minutes and you'll still get a couple hours of use on the phone. So it's good that fast charging is equipped on here. The speakers on this phone are loud and they're great. The Nexus 6P has 2 front-facing stereo speakers, and in my past speaker test comparison with the Moto X Pure Edition, this phone is actually louder than my Moto X. Even though this phone is louder, I feel that my Moto X Pure Edition gives a more richer, fuller sound than the Nexus 6P, but by no means are the speakers bad on this phone. They're still great sounding speakers. I did want to update though on that past video that I made. I did notice, and this is really weird to me, so for some reason, even though when I use Spotify, the Nexus 6P is much louder than, well, not much louder, but the Nexus 6P is louder than my Moto X Pure Edition when using Spotify. Now, when I use YouTube or I use Netflix, the volume coming out of here was less prominent than my Moto X Pure Edition, and so much so that I noticed it right away. When I played a YouTube video on my Nexus 6P versus my Moto X Pure Edition, I could instantly tell that the volume was louder on my Moto X. So I don't know if that's something that still needs to get tweaked and figured out. I don't know if maybe it's just an equalizer setting that maybe an app I need to download to make the volume come out louder on, for apps like Netflix and Hulu and YouTube, because those are the 3 that I tested. So I'm really not sure why the volume is lower. I'll have to look into that, but I did want to note that because again, even though it was louder on Spotify, it did, sound considerably quieter on those other apps. I can't say enough good things about the Fingerprint Reader. Out of all the features on my Nexus 6P, this is my favorite feature of all. After about a week or so, I've gotten really used to just using the fingerprint sensor. I can't actually even remember the last time I put a PIN code in. It's fast, it's accurate, it's fast. Those are pretty much the best ways to put it on this phone. I love the fact that I can just put my finger on the fingerprint sensor and it unlocks the phone, and you can set it to use, I guess, as many fingers as you want. So I have it on my right index finger and I also have it on my left index finger, and it works almost all the time. I will have hiccups here and there, but I would say 9 times out of 10, I'm unlocking the phone with my fingerprint sensor without any issue. One thing I've noticed as well is I have an iPhone 6, and to unlock that phone, I have to first hit or press the home button to kind of show the the lock screen. So I have to press it first, and then I have to put my thumb or whatever to unlock the phone. But on here, I don't have to press any kind of lock buttons or power buttons. I just put my fingerprint, or I put my finger on the fingerprint sensor and I'm good to go. I'm also loving USB Type-C. Now, it's not like some sort of miracle technology, but the simple fact that I can now plug my phone in without taking a look at the connector to make sure it's right side up is honestly, it's like a godsend. There are a lot of days that I come home and I'm tired and I really don't want to fumble through, finding which way it goes in. Or not even if I'm tired, I don't ever want to find out which way I have to plug it in. I just want to plug it in. I'm going to talk about ambient display for a quick second. Now, I will have to also go back to my Moto X Pure Edition to just do a little comparison between the two. But this phone has something called ambient display, and how ambient display works is when you pick your phone up, you'll get notifications on your phone. Like it'll trigger the AMOLED display to show you any kind of notifications. And I will say that this has been a very inconsistent feature for me. A lot of times, I thought I could just kind of like push the phone so notifications would show up. But that hasn't been the case. And so sometimes when I do pick up the phone, I will get the notifications, and other times I pick up the phone, I won't. And, just to do a shortcut then I'll have to just unlock my phone with my fingerprint or, press the lock screen to see if I do have any notifications. I really hope that Google maybe fixes that feature. Ambient display is still nowhere close to how active display on the Moto X Pure Edition works. On my Moto X, I had IR sensors on the front of the phone where I could just wave my hand over and it would let me know if I have new notifications or if I just wanted to glance for the time. And I really missed that that feature on that phone more than anything else after transitioning over to the 6P. I really hope maybe in future iterations that they do something similar. I mean, or maybe they work with Motorola and put IR sensors back on the front so active display is a thing. Again, ambient display, it kind of works. It's kind of inconsistent, and maybe if it worked 100% of the time, I would use it more, but for now I've actually turned the feature off and I'm just relying on the LED notification instead. And let me get into the LED notification. I'm glad that there is one. I'm glad that we can use it to control, different colors to show different kinds of notifications. Like, for example, if I have a Facebook notification, I'll have it flash blue, or if I have a Hangouts notification, I'll have it flash green. I've been using a third-party app called Lightflow, but it's still kind of buggy, and so I've been kind of just using the default ones for now. I will say that I wish the LED notification light was bigger. Like, it's really small. So, I mean, if I want to glance over at my phone, I know where to look for it. It's up on the top left. But I really wish that it was bigger because I have like an old school BlackBerry phone that I was using for work. And when I used to get a notification, even if I wasn't looking at that phone, the light was big enough that it would tell me like, hey, like you have something going on. And I know on the LG, the Nexus 5X, they had they have an LED notification on the center of the top grill here, and I think it's a lot brighter than the 6P was. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but maybe they can fix that on the next iteration of the Nexus. The rear camera on this phone is an excellent shooter. I love the fact that I can press the power button twice to get the camera app activated. On the Moto X Pure Edition, you have the gesture to double twist your wrist twice to get the camera app going, and while that's still a great feature, I feel like pressing the power button twice is a more natural feel for the camera app, and I like that better on the Nexus 6P. I haven't had an extensive amount of time testing the camera, but with the pictures I have taken, I feel like the pictures come out pretty accurate, and especially in low light or very dimly lit areas, the camera performs beautifully. I mean, just if you looked at my camera comparison a couple days ago, the Nexus 6P easily beats out the Moto X Pure Edition in dimmer light or low light. I'll look for an update on the camera comparison soon because I'm going to be doing another comparison between the 6P and the Moto X Pure Edition, and if I can get my hands on an iPhone 6S, I'll do that too. I've been trying to get my hands on a 6S Plus, but I haven't been able to. But again, in a few days, you'll probably see another video or camera comparison. Like, I can say everything I want about the camera, but I think as somebody that wants to judge pictures, it's better to just show you pictures and then decide for yourself what looks better. I did mention video, and that's something I'm going to have to do too. 1080p, 4K, slow motion at 720p. I've done a couple of those already, but so far with what I've tested, video looks really good. I know there have been issues with stabilization with video recording, and that's something I'll have to test too, because I've been watching some other videos where they're doing video stabilization with the Nexus 6P versus like other phones, and it looks like that the video, because there's no optical image stabilization, when you take video recordings and you're moving the phone around a lot, it looks like there's a lot of choppiness and a lot of like jittering. I'll do a test with that, because like it doesn't look good at all, and hopefully, well, I don't know if there's a way that they can fix that. So you know, that's something where a steadier hand, or you know, like a tripod or something might be better for video on this phone. But again, I don't know for sure, because I haven't done much testing when it comes to that, but when I do, I will have something for you guys. One of the reasons I'm a huge Nexus fan is for their software. For the fact that it has a 100% stock version of Android. There's no bloatware, there's no additional skins. It's the way that Google wants you to use their operating system. And there is no other comparison when it comes to that, because no other manufacturer offers a phone with the purest, you know, version of stock Android. Motorola comes close, but you know, the Nexus is still 100% stock Android. The fact that I can get software updates quicker than any other Android phone is one of the reasons that I'm always coming back to a Nexus. Marshmallow is clean, it's minimalistic, and if you don't like it that way, you can make it look however you want, so it's still customizable for you. I like to think of Marshmallow as a much more refined version of Lollipop. You know, there are some new features like Doze, which offers much more battery efficiency, permission settings, so you don't have other apps trying to access things on your phone that you don't want it to. You can control that now. And so even with, like, again, I said this before, with transitions on the phone, as far as like notifications and everything, it just looks and feels a lot smoother than Lollipop has been running. I have no hesitation saying that the Nexus 6P is the best phone that you can buy for under $500. The phone has a great build quality, a great display, great performance, great camera, an excellent battery, an excellent fingerprint reader, and it has 100% stock Android, which I feel is the best Android. Stay tuned in a couple days for more camera comparison videos for the Nexus 6P versus other phones. I'll be coming out with those soon, and that's it. So until the next one, guys, take it easy. Later.